Hi, thank you for joining our workshop titled CAD/CAM, Your SurePath to Enduring in a Post-COVID World. First off, from all of us at Vorum, we hope that you're all keeping well during this troubling time. My name is Chris Gurman, and I am the account manager at Vorum. You'll see here a few of our other speakers that we have today: Chris Hanford, our product manager, Bob Orlando, our implementation lead, as well as Brian Cutt, our customer success lead. We have a great presentation planned for you today with relevant content that focuses on the new world that we find ourselves living in. Although we would love to be having this presentation with you in person, we're really glad that AOPA was able to provide us with this format so that we could still connect. Please feel free to submit any questions or comments to us. There will be some contact information provided at the end of this presentation. I'm hoping by the end of this workshop, you will be able to answer these three questions. What value will CAD/CAM bring to you or your company, your hospital, your clinic during COVID or post-COVID? How can us, Vorum, manage implementations, manage support, and ensure your success during these turbulent times that we find ourselves in? And finally, what are some of the key features that Vorum's products can offer you? Before we get into that, just a quick roadmap of what will be happening. So firstly, I will be providing a brief overview of CAD/CAM, talking about why hospitals and clinics have chosen to adopt this technology. From there, I will be discussing who Vorum is, our company history, and then touching on who uses the Vorum system. All the while, I'll be referencing, as well as some of my colleagues, a survey that some of you may have actually responded to. It was conducted by a third-party company around CAD/CAM that was released actually a few months ago, so it was done during this pandemic. From there, our implementation lead, Bob Orlando, will be discussing implementation and training programs during COVID. He'll pass it off to Brian Cutt, our support lead. He'll be talking about SurePath and then going into our customer experiences, their successes, and talking about how we can support our customers with warranty, ongoing maintenance, especially during this time. Lastly, Chris Hanford, our product manager, he'll give an overview of our product offerings, touching on our brand new product, a wireless scanner called the Luma Scanner. He'll be looking at new features in the software that we just released in CANFIT 18 and a lower cost to entry model that we have called CANFIT Access. So before we get started, thought it was a great question to ask. What is CAD/CAM? So CAD itself simply stands for computer aided design. It's a catch-all term for any design work done on or aided by a computer. Lots of different professions use CAD. Engineers use CAD to model all sorts of things, including fluid flowing from a valve or through a valve. Architects use it to draw and modify things instead of drawing them by hand. And look, O&P professionals, they use CAD to design all sorts of different custom orthotic and prosthetic devices. CAM simply means it's the next step in the process. It means computer-aided manufacturing. So CAM programs take the digital shape file from the CAD program and translate it into directions for a machine to follow. Since different machines have different number of axes with different dimensions and orientations, it's actually quite critical that the CAM program has been calibrated for the specific machine that it is talking to. In 3D printing, CAM software is often referred to as slicer software. Together, these form the foundation of a new workflow or even a new business model. As I mentioned, there will be survey results along the way. So we partnered with Dimensional Research. They are an independent third party that specializes in market research to do this survey on our behalf. So here we're looking at what motivated an organization to select an in-house CAD/CAM solution. This was released to Vorum research was done via Vorum clients, as well as those who are not our clients, those who do not have a CAD/CAM system. So we tried to make it as unbiased as we possibly could, given the resources we had in our database. So as you can see, what motivated your organization to select an in-house CAD/CAM solution? The respondents were able to choose up to 3 that apply. The main one being people wanted to become more efficient. So near 70 and nearly 75% wanted to become more efficient. That's why they chose a CAD/CAM solution. So this is especially relevant during and post-COVID. What we've seen, we've seen shutdowns, lockdowns. We've had our clients close their business for specific periods of time. Just to, even though they were deemed essential services, they thought that it was best to protect their staff, to protect their patients, and close down. From the patient side of things, people were reluctant to go outside, to go seek care. People just didn't understand, how this virus is transmitted, ways to protect themselves. And now that we're learning more and more about it, people are more willing to go get care. There were surgeries that were not deemed emergency surgeries, and a few months ago, now they're becoming emergency surgeries. So those patients, they need care as well. When hospitals, clinics, they're seeing these patients when they're opening back up, what we're finding is people, they need to space out the patient visits so that there's adequate social distancing, that they can properly sanitize patient rooms and even the waiting rooms adequately between visits. So people are being asked to provide the same amount of care, but they have less time in the day. And now our clients are seeing that they're facing an influx of patients. The volumes are picking up. So when we, in a few slides, when we look at traditional working with plaster, it's going to be very hard to keep up with the patient demand when clinics are seeing this influx. And then in the second top answer to adopt an in-house CAD/CAM solution was the desire to improve the patient experience and provide better patient care. We know plaster is messy. It's not fun for anyone. It's not fun for the patient to, it's just not the most desirable one. You can either have a choice to go from, putting plaster over you or not having a contactless scanner scan your limb or your torso or whatever it is. Odds are that patient will likely choose the latter, choose the contactless method, especially if they can achieve the same, if not better, results as they would in traditional forms. And when we look at rural communities even, we know that patients they may have to drive hours and hours to receive that type of care. And if they're using they're using plaster, and they may have to spend a night or two in order to get that device fitted properly that they could then take home. So why now? We're talking about the influx of patients that people may be seeing. So if we're looking at the traditional plaster workflow, we see that a patient can be casted in 15 minutes. You can create a mold in 5 to 10 minutes, modify that mold. It varies 20 minutes to 2 hours. Make the device, trim it out, and then fit the device. So if we look at this, the total turnaround that it's forecasting is an hour and a half to 4 hours. But something is missing here. So what is missing is the wait time. So when you're working with plaster, you spend a huge amount of time waiting. So you're waiting for things to dry, 30 minutes to 24 hours. You're waiting. So that, that hour and a half to 4 hour turnaround time, it's more realistically, it's actually 4 hours to 30 hours. When comparing this to the conventional CAD/CAM workflow, we can scan a patient in 2 to 5 minutes, and maybe even faster than that 2 minutes. You can modify that shape and can fit anywhere from 2 to 20 minutes. And then new users, you might say, oh, well, 2 to 20 minutes, I've seen CAD before, and it's going to take me a little longer than that. we have our SurePath program that we're going to talk to you about, that if you want to be able to modify an AFO in 15 minutes and that's your goal, we'll get you there. We'll do whatever we can to ensure that you achieve that marking. From there, you carve that shape 12 to 20 minutes, you pull the plastic, wait for it to cool, trim it out, and then you can fit it all in around 3.5 to 5 hours. So for those rural communities, or patients not taking a full day off of work, they're not spending overnight in the hotel, they can get a device in 3 to 5 hours. And to take that even further, if we look at the 3D printing workflow, again, the scanning, modifying, that doesn't change. And then 3D printing, that can take anywhere from 30 minutes to 6 hours, depending on what device is being printed. So you remove it, fit it, and then the total turnaround time there, anywhere from 40 minutes to 7 hours. So to summarize all those three, we have plaster taking anywhere from 4 hours to 30 hours, traditional conventional CAD/CAM 3.5 to 5 hours, and then 3D printing 40 minutes to anywhere to 7 hours. So a few more of those questions that we had in our research, our survey. Here we have, are orthotists and prosthetists in your location attempting to reduce direct contact with patients as a result of COVID? So as you can see, nearly 93–94% have said that they are trying to reduce patient contact at some capacity. All of us, or some of us, patient contact is trying to be reduced. I know for myself, telehealth, when I'm calling in to my doctor, that's the first step. I'm not showing up. We're having a telehealth conference. I know many of you listening in, that's step 1 too. We have video chat. We can point at things. We can learn a lot just via video chat. But with CAD/CAM, you have contactless scanning, which can help. You still are within that 6 feet, that range of the CDC recommends to stay outside of. But if you think about it, you can take the computer home to do your modifications. You don't have to stick around at the office. You can do a lot at home. So that's advantageous when looking at a CAD/CAM system. And then here we have, which of the following are potential benefits to using CAD/CAM systems for orthotics or prosthetics when responding to COVID-19 issues, and choose all that apply. So interesting here, we had nearly 30% of the respondents said that they felt that there were no benefits of CAD/CAM for COVID-19. So us being transparent there, that was the result. But we had nearly 60% that felt that the ability to have that contactless scan, the ability to scan patients without touching them, was very advantageous. You can modify the orthotic and prosthetic rather than handling the cast, being in the clinic, in the hospital. You don't have to do your modifications there. You can isolate yourselves when you're doing that. And then again, you can carve the molds without contact with the patient casts. So people definitely see advantages to using CAD/CAM, especially when it comes to COVID. And why now? So how has the quality of patient care experience and outcomes affected you by adopting CAD/CAM? So these respondents, they do have an in-house CAD/CAM system. So on the top, we're looking at people who've had it for 5 years or less. And at the bottom, they've had it for 6 years or more. So amazing results here. So we have 98% who've had a CAD/CAM system for 5 years or less feel that they've had positive results from patient care, from patient experience. And we know that patient experience is one of the top results as chosen as why to adopt it. So 98% positive within the first 5 years of adopting the system, they've had positive results. And what's really interesting down below, the 6 years or more, that 37% who deemed it very positive within the first 5 years, that jumps up to 57%. So those users who have had it longer, who get more used to it, who become more efficient, they have their workflows, it's your digital classroom. So they get that all set up. They get their workflows, they get the macros set in, they have their library shapes, they have all these custom things that just really streamline their processes. That big jump from 37 to 57%, the more you use it, the longer you have it, tremendous results. And that 98% of overall positive outcomes, that jumps up to 99%. So really, really positive feedback there on adopting a CAD/CAM system overall, and why it may be better to get into it now rather than waiting a year, waiting 2 years, waiting 3 years, and partnering with a company like Vorum, as we'll touch more on, especially with SurePath and how long we've been around. It is a wise investment, a wise and secure investment of taking this CAD/CAM system into your hospital, into your practice. So who is Vorum? So to give you a company history here. So in 1979, Carl Saunders, who some of you listening in may know pretty well, he began his research in CAD/CAM for O&P with James Fort. In 1983, the outcome of that research was the subject of the first public demonstration of technology at the ISPO World Congress of London. So crazy to think, over 40 years ago, Carl Saunders was looking at CAD/CAM for O&P. And then the first public demonstration, that was at the ISPO World Congress in London. So a couple years after that, in 1986, the first CAD system intended for widespread O&P use was showcased. And then a couple of years later, Vorum itself was founded, so over 31 years ago, to bring the very first CAD system to the O&P industry. When we talk to new prospects, they not all know that Vorum was actually the first company to bring CAD/CAM to O&P. It's something that we're tremendously proud of. Over 31 years, we have so much data that we've looked at. We have a tremendous amount of R&D that we've done. We've spoken to clinicians, to technicians. We've really evolved our technology so that it's easy to use for and has the application for the broad scope of people. So moving on to current day, 2020, time has passed, products were developed and improved on, and now, here we are. We've released the 18th version of our CAD software, so CAMFit 18 has now been released. Vorum is seen as the premier CAD/CAM solution provider for O&P clinics worldwide, and our technology is used in over 800 facilities across 45 different countries. And Carl is still manning the helm. Here is a number that we are very proud of. So every 65 seconds, somewhere in the world, a patient receives a custom device made with Vorum technology. So as I mentioned, over 800 installations. We've done this. We know how to do installations. 45 different countries. So worldwide, we're touching all corners of the globe. We've done this countless times. So when you're looking at partnering with someone, whether you're a big clinic, a small clinic, a private, public, we've partnered with all sorts of different institutions. We know what it takes. We know what it takes to make you successful, especially for new users, especially for people who are a little hesitant to make that jump. It is a jump. It's not the same as plaster. There is a learning curve, but with our SurePath program, with our 31 years of experience, you're really partnering with a company who knows how to do it and knows how to do it right. So here I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Bob Orlando, who's going to touch on our implementations. Over to you, Bob.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bob Orlando, and I'm the implementation lead here at Vorum. I've been working at Vorum for about 8 years in the implementations and support departments, and I'm excited to talk to you today about the implementation program here at Vorum and what an implementation with us looks like after you purchase. The first step in your implementation program with us here at Vorum is initializing your SurePath program. So our SurePath program is our formal customer success program. We believe that customer success is defined by the customer, so we'll work with you to figure out what goals you have and what's most important for you to achieve after the implementation. This will align our implementation program and the focused support that we give you with the goals that you have as an organization. The first step of the SurePath program is to establish your baseline. For example, if you have goals related to achieving your modifications in reduced times, we want to know how long it's taking for you today. That way, when we look back at this a year from now, we'll be able to look and see exactly how much improvement you've achieved as a result of our implementation. We'll help you get super specific on those goals and help set milestones for us to achieve along the way. A typical SurePath program with us here at Vorum starts before your implementation with establishing the current baseline of your production today and setting goals and milestones for what you're hoping to achieve with the Vorum system. Following the implementation, there will be lots of focused support and check-ins with us to make sure that you're having success with our system. I think one of our customers said it best when they said that it takes a change in mindset to successfully migrate from plaster to a virtual 3D world on a computer. This is why we've established the SurePath program. It's so that we can guide you through that transition as quickly and smoothly as possible. For this specific customer, that meant they were up and running efficiently with their new system for all of their orders within 4 weeks. With travel restrictions in place worldwide, we've enhanced our ability to ensure safe and effective remote installations of all of our products. Using our global network of service partners, we can facilitate your safe and effective on-site installation. We've been delivering our 3-axis carvers remotely for a few years now, and in the next few weeks, we'll be performing remote deliveries of another 3-axis carver and our 7-axis robot carver. As an organization, we've been successfully delivering CanFit training for several years now as well. We recently did some reorganization in our office to create dedicated remote training spaces for our Spectra scanner, as well as additional resources for delivering training on our carvers. We've already delivered successful trainings on our scanners, our CanFit design software, and our 3-axis carvers and robot carvers to customers around the world. Rest assured that with a remote installation and training program from Vorum, you're going to get the customized training program that you need to be successful with our products. Leveraging our experience in the industry, we've ensured that we're able to deliver and train on our scanners, software, and machinery remotely at the same standards that you've come to expect from our on-site training. This includes training on using our more complex machines from our 7-axis carver through to our easier machines like the 3-axis carver. We've also set up new resources in order to be able to train you effectively on how to use our various machinery. For example, we can train you on how to use the touchscreen interface of our complex 7-axis robot carver, and we can also train you on how to use the different interfaces of our other carvers, such as the 3-axis carver, so that you can be successful with all of our products after our remote installation process. Once your remote implementation program is complete with our implementation team here at Vorum, you'll have finished all of your training and be away to the races towards your goals. The next stage of the process is to have regular check-ins with our customer success lead, Brian, who you're going to meet next, and we'll follow up after those check-ins with any targeted support or training that's required to make sure that you achieve your goals.
Hi, my name is Brian Cutt. I am the Customer Success Lead for Vorum, and I'm here today to talk to you about customer success at Vorum. Before I dive right in, I do want to say thanks to Bob Orlando for an excellent presentation on the different delivery options and the products that we have here at Vorum, as well as for touching on SurePath. Today, I'm going to be talking with you a little bit more about SurePath, different success stories that we have from organizations that use our solutions and have found some way that SurePath has helped them along the path to find success, as well as to talk to you about support, the ways that we help you get on with your day-to-day business when you're using our solutions. A little bit about me first before we begin, so that we're not strangers. As I said, my name is Brian Cutts. I have been working in the account management, business development, and customer success fields for close to about 5 years now, working in water data management, and I'm very, very, very blessed to be working with Vorum now since the beginning of this year. What I do here at Vorum is I support the team that provides you with the success. In other words, the different types of support, making sure that your inquiries are answered, the different repairs that go on for your equipment, whether that be on-site or mail-in, and also to work with you to define and to reach those success checkpoints as well once you come on board with Vorum. Now, customer success itself is a fairly new concept. I would say that it has come into the mainstream in the last 5 or 6 years or so. So I do want to help you differentiate between success and support, because you may look at it and think, aren't they the same thing? Well, not exactly. So the easiest way for me to break this down is that support is when you have an issue, you call in, somebody resolves your issue, and you're good to go. Success, on the other hand, is when you are helped in that you define your long-term goals, and you are helped through every phase to achieve those goals. If it still doesn't make sense, let me try to put it this way. Let's say you go out to buy a TV. Usually there's a warranty agreement which is added on, and what you get from that warranty is the ability to trade the TV back in if it breaks or malfunctions in some other way. If you're lucky, when it does malfunction, you might get some timely support. Imagine though, other than that warranty type deal, which is almost like insurance, you had somebody sit with you after you've made your purchase, figure out exactly what channels or subscriptions that you or your friends and family enjoy, set those up with you, and to teach you to set them up so that you know how to set up future ones yourself. The next year or so, help you to become more familiar with their product, help you to become more successful with their product. And as you experience issues or challenges, understanding or learning new things about their product, they're there to help you figure it out every step of the way. Now, if that were the case, then we'd be coming a little bit closer to what Vorum's SurePath is. Not only do we help you set your goals, and these are goals, as Bob mentioned, that you set. We help you fine-tune those goals into something really highly focused, intentional, and achievable. We also work with you to ensure that your training and your support is customized so that you are always on that path, the SurePath, to finding success with Vorum solutions. We are so confident that we can help you find success because of the amount of success that we've seen our customers and partners achieve with SurePath and with the 30 years of experience that we bring to this relationship. So what is SurePath? Bob has given you a very high-level overview of what SurePath is, and I just wanted to go over that a little bit, maybe in a little bit more detail as well, so that you have a clearer picture of what it is. SurePath is really a full guarantee of success. We work with you, and it is with you as equal partners in this venture, success partners, that we find a way forward for you so that you get exactly what you joined on for or came on board for. It features dedicated solutioning, meaning that we focus in, as mentioned, on those key parts of your business that you really want to shore up, and we make that successful for you. It features scheduled checkpoints. Scheduled checkpoints being at the frequency that you want. Most customers do not want to see me every week, but if you so choose to, then that's the frequency we can set for you to ensure that you are finding success with whatever solution that you decide to come on board with Vorum. You may be looking at a 1-month checkpoint, followed by a 3-month checkpoint, and then a 6-month checkpoint, and finally a 1-year checkpoint. So you may think, and this is also where we differ as well from other companies and other organizations, they may have an account manager and help you set some short-term goals to figure out exactly what you need to get going so that you can, be done with whatever process. For us, after you've completed your first set of goals, we can set new goals. If you want to shave things down further, we are all about helping you find those highly achievable goals and making sure that we can measure them as well, so that when success is met, you as well as we know that you're there. So talking about the structure of SurePath, it doesn't really nail home how effective it can be. So I want to take some time now to share with you a couple of examples in which we have seen SurePath be a success for the organizations that tried them out. The first organization I want to share with you the story here is Snyder's. So founded in 1999, Snyder's is a family-owned clinic located in Winnipeg, Canada, and has been steadily growing over the years and is now comprised of about 6 employees, with more set to join in the future. Despite a successfully growing business, the higher patient loads led to challenges associated with the typical confinements of a small office. Time management. Finding time to do plaster modifications was a big problem because of how time-consuming the process was. The result was a stressful work environment, ultimately causing longer than desirable lead times for devices. At this point in time, the owner, Luke Snyder, who was a pretty savvy businessman as well, decided to break into the CAD/CAM solution space. So what they did in 2018 was to bring on board the Vorum Spectra 3D scanner, which you can see here in the picture, as well as a CANFIT design software. Now, prior to implementing Vorum's CAD system, the standard workflow used to take around 90 minutes or so. And after the implementation of Vorum's solutions with the Spectra 3D scanner, as well as the CANFIT design program software, they saw that these workflows could be cut down to about 20 minutes. The device turnaround has been drastically reduced as well. And these are 2 key wins for the team because the majority of the pressure stemmed from seeing a large number of patients and having to turn over a large number of devices at the same time. So through a very, very focused and intentional setting of goals during the SurePath process, we were able to work with Luke and his team in order to ensure that he hit upon those success milestones, the key ones that would make the biggest difference for his company. The second story I want to share with you today is with Hortons. So Hortons is a little bit bigger. It has 35 employees across 6 facilities in Arkansas. So Hortons Orthotics and Prosthetics. They invested about a year or 2 years ago in a complete Vorum CAD/CAM solution. It included the Spectra 3D scanners, as shown in the previous picture, OMP shape modification software, an automated mold carver as well. Now, Gary Horton, who founded the practice over 36 years ago and has since closely followed the OMP technology space, decided then that the time was right for his company to start using CAD/CAM. So at Hortons, they serve a very wide range of patients. The practice is split between almost 50-50 between orthotic and prosthetic devices, but their main original motivation was to improve the efficiency of making pediatric spinal braces for their scoliosis patients. They exceeded their expectations for the orthotic applications, greatly cutting down on turnaround time. You can take a look at some of the bullet points there. Increased by a factor of 5. The time to apply the prosthetic mold shape modifications cut by 85%. The 3D scanner cuts in half the time required to capture the patient's shape for a BK. And they free up a lot of valuable practitioner time as well by delegating the scanning operation to an O&P assistant. So the benefits of scanning have been a huge deal and a huge benefit for not only the practitioners and the organization, but also for the patients as well. Imagine a 12-year-old female scoli patient having to put on a really tight stockinette, and then having a male practitioner contacting her during the casting process. At best, it can be uncomfortable. But with the scanner, things are a lot more comfortable, not only because it's faster, but also there's a lot more privacy respected at the same time. Their patients love the 3D scanning experience because they're also providing the latest technology. And as a patient, you feel a little bit better knowing that you're being taken care of with the best of the best. The last story that I want to share with you today is the story of Spinal Tech. So Spinal Tech is a very big company in the States. They are the first company, actually, I believe, in the States to use computer-aided design and manufacturing technology for spinal brace central fabrication. So we're moving things a little bit differently from the kind of clinics and the practices into central fabrication now. They recognized that they needed to upgrade their system in order to take their business to the next level. In 2008, they installed the Vorum system, which they used to fabricate braces from patient scans and to continually build and maintain their vast library of approximately 6,000 spinal molds. Luckily, Vorum provides spinal technology with an efficient and effective organization system. It's very different, as you can see from the two previous stories, where this organization really needed to hone in on efficiency around managing their library. And through the communication and the partnership built through a successful SurePath, we're able to identify those things, pinpoint them exactly, and to ensure that those are a success. By scanning a large portion of their physical molds into the 3D design software that Vorum provides, they have created a digital library. So it's easier to replace old molds, locate the most appropriate mold, and store patient shapes for future reference as well. So it is no secret that with any journey to adopt a new solution, at the first couple of stages, weeks or months where you first buy, you experience a little bit of bliss or euphoria from purchasing it, and there's excitement there as well. But as reality sets in and the troubleshooting and the challenges arrive either from training staff or having, your organization go through some growing pains in adopting the solution, the road to that success becomes ever more narrow and precarious as well. But that's what SurePath is here for. We're here to help you offset some of that narrowing of the path so that you are properly guided to that goal that we set right at the very beginning, where the road is the widest, and that focus is kept hammered on so that we ensure that you find as much success as you want with our products and solutions. At Vorum, I also want to talk to you a little bit about support. So with Vorum customer support, we also have a different team which is solely dedicated and focused on providing you support to ensure that your day-to-day issues are resolved and that you are experiencing as little downtime, zero downtime, preferably, as possible. While the SurePath program helps with setting highly achievable goals for your organization and executing on solutions and changes for them, we are also here as the support team to help you with the troubleshooting and the on-the-spot assistance as well. We commit to a couple of pretty outstanding things here that we believe make us a lot more effective and make us a lot more accessible as well to ensuring that you find success with your Vorum solution. We provide in-depth support for up to 11 hours a day. And we also commit to ensuring that your issues are responded to within 24 hours so that you know your challenge is being addressed. Of course, we will always prefer to go for the quickest and most effective resolution as possible, but at times it really does pay for us to dig in there with you to find that root cause and to ensure that you are properly trained to handle anything coming up in the future. Also, recognizing that CNC machines, scanners, and the solutions and the technology that we provide is very highly complex. We also commit to a very, very high turnover rate. And what do I mean by turnover rate? Well, it means that whether we be coming on site to perform repairs and maintenance, or using the same service partners that Bob mentioned in the previous presentation, we can carry out on-site maintenance without restriction worldwide. It means that when you are down, we are getting there as soon as possible, or our partners are getting there as soon as possible in order to ensure that your machine is serviced and you're experiencing as little downtime as possible. And in order to commit to this as well, it's not just the support team, the supply chain team as well, ensuring that things are getting to you as quick as possible. We have a very, very also close-knit relationship with the account managers, with the developers. So you're never really just being serviced by one arm of Vorum. You're being serviced by the entire organization through every support call. We also, on top of that, also offer the service of in-house repairs as well. For some of those 3D scanners that you saw in some of those pictures and you heard me mention earlier in the presentation, if for whatever reason you experience issues with it, send it back. We will get it fixed and send it and sit back to you as quick as possible to ensure that you have as little disruption to your day-to-day as possible. And in some cases as well, we also have loaners that we can send out to you so that, you know, as your original device comes to us to be repaired, our loaner device is arriving at your location so that you are experiencing, once again, zero downtime, which is the most important thing for us here at customer support. There is a lot more to talk about in regards to Vorum support, SurePath, and tons of other success stories as well. I really strongly encourage you to go to our website at www.vorum.com, www.vorum.com. Check it out. We have a lot of great resources there, details, product information, customer success information that you can take a look at to understand a better picture of what we can do for you here at Vorum. I want to thank you again for your time, and I am happy now to pass you off to Chris Hanford, our product manager, who will show you some of our solutions firsthand. Thank you again, and I hope to speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Brian. I'm Chris Hanford, Product Manager here at Vorum. Today I'll be providing an overview of the technology in the Vorum solution and also take some time to show you typical workflows in design of prosthetics and orthotics. This slide shows the 3 main steps in any digital workflow for custom devices in O&P. The first step is to capture the patient shape, either with a 3D scan or using manual measurements combined with photos. In the design step, you're taking that information and applying modifications to that shape. We call this our digital plaster room. The important thing here to consider is that you're not just imitating what you'd be doing in a plaster cast. You have much more powerful tools at your disposal to design the final device, not just the mold. This is even more relevant as we move into 3D printing. With the ability to design in thicknesses, physical textures and cutouts, and integrations for external components, you have the capability to fully design what the patient needs. Vorum is very excited to be at the forefront of this development. The final step is, of course, to carve out your mold or send the design to a 3D printer. Many O&P companies use one or more of these steps in their own practice. The most basic being that they take measurements of a patient and send that off to a central fabricator to do the rest. If you're not currently using any CAD technology in your practice, we'd be happy to discuss with you where you might get started, as it's normal to start small. The technology is certainly there to grow with you. Okay, let's dive into these 3 areas of the system, starting with scanning. Vorum develops scanners specifically for practitioners to scan their patients. The hardware and software is designed and built at our office in Vancouver, Canada. This helps us control the development as well as the cost to our customers. The Spectra 3D scanner has been a game changer for our customers. The Spectra is extremely accurate, easy to use, and includes both 3D shape data as well as color texture map, so you can see in your scan any landmarks or trim lines sketched on the patient. It's also a portable solution that can be used for infant cranial remolding applications. In the US, as an example, Orth America has a 510K to use Spectra scans for their Starband product. We're also very excited to be previewing a brand new scanner from Vorum, the Luma 3D scanner. We'll get into the details of this in a few minutes. So diving in, here's a video showing the Spectra scanner in action. The Spectra scanner is lightweight and durable. The scanner and laptop fit together in a single backpack, so you can easily take it to the hospital or clinic. The Spectra can be used to scan everything from head to foot, including infants for cranial remolding helmets. The Spectra doesn't require any special stickers or proprietary stockinette to get an accurate image. Its blue light makes it great at capturing patient data in varying lighting conditions. It also allows you to stop and start from multiple positions on the shape without having to go back to the computer. As I mentioned, it also picks up any marking on the shape, so it's easy and precise for making landmarks that will guide your design in the CanFit software. Next, moving over to the Luma 3D scanner. This scanner integrates with the Microsoft Surface Pro tablet for a wireless scanning option. The Luma uses infrared depth sensing technology to generate both the 3D shape information and the texture image. Aside from the fact that it's wireless, the software interface we've put together is very simple, so it's easy for any practitioner to learn quickly. You can use the touchscreen to clean up any background data you don't need and to align the shape for export to CanFit. The Luma is more accurate than similar iPad scanners on the market. However, it's still not as accurate as the Spectra, so it's not recommended for cranial remolding applications. What is great is that it's possible to install our CanFit design software on the same Surface Pro. And you therefore have a completely portable solution for shape capture and design on the go. Another advantage of running on a Windows-based platform is it can work with your IT department's security policies to provide a much more secure solution to store your patient data. Compared to Spectra, Another difference here is that the Luma scanner pricing is scan units based, so you pay as you go. Currently, Luma is only available in the United States through Friddle's Orthopedic Appliances. Here's a quick overview of those two scanning options again. The Spectra is the ultimate in accuracy for patient scanning, meaning you can have confidence in scanning everything from head to foot, including infant cranial remolding helmets. The Spectra is portable, meaning you can take your laptop and Spectra on the go and have it set up and ready to scan in seconds. The new Luma scanner is completely wireless. You get full shape detail, including the texture image. Because it runs on the Surface Pro, it's a secure alternative to iPad scanners on the market. It can run the design software and is pay as you go. If you're interested to find out more, contact Renee Lewis at Friddle's Orthopedic Appliances. That's at rlewis@friddles.com. Next, I'm going to dive into the second step in the process, which is the design. CanFit design is your digital classroom. CanFit can be set up in a way that's optimal for your practice and your clinical workflow. Whether you're a single practitioner clinic that sends all your files out to a central fab, or a hospital network that has to manage patient data across multiple locations, or you yourself are a central fabricator. We make regulatory compliance easy. As well as your practice gets more into 3D printing, CanFit will also be the tool you can use to fully design your final 3D printed test devices and definitive devices. You'll have all those device modifications recorded in one software tool. I'll now jump into CanFit and show you a bit more detail of some typical design workflows for prosthetics and orthotics. Jumping into CanFit now, I'll give you a brief overview of the software, and then we'll actually have time to go into some real-world examples and highlighting many of the features and tools of the software for both some prosthetic applications and some orthotic applications. When you get into the CanFit software, this is what you'll see. This is the patient management window. So from here, you get access to all of your historical patient data here on this tree structure on the left. It's easy to go and find any patient if you need to. You can also get easy access to any of the most recent patients as you might in a Microsoft application. Along the top here, you can create any of these shape types by measurement or load a scan from the Spectra scanner or the Luma scanner. So whether you're creating a new shape from a new scan or from measures, you have all of these different options at your disposal. If we click any of these features here on the left, so for example, we can organize patients into different groups. We can organize patients by practitioner or by location, or even by shape type. And then within each location or each group, we can break it down into the patient. And within each patient, we can have several shapes. So it's easy to kind of keep a record of all of the shapes you've created for that patient over time. If we click any of the individual shapes here, we can see exactly what was done in a list of modifications and other tools used over time. We can also see who did the modifications and when they were done. So it's a great way to kind of track progress and see how things left off. I'm going to jump into the software here. We already have a few shapes opened up, and I'll use an example of an AFO scan, really just to get started, to walk through a general overview of the layout of the software, and then we'll get into some of the fun stuff, some of the modifications. So when you open a shape, you have the two-dimensional view here on the left, sagittal, coronal, transverse, as well as a cutting plane view. In the center, you'll often have the active view, which is your shape with the most recent modifications. On the right, you have a action list or a modification history, where you can see what was done. From here, you can also undo modifications or redo the modifications as you need to. We also have a few other panes, window panes here, so you can look at specific measurements or notes, or we also here have the ability to load macros, which I'll touch on in a little bit. At the bottom right here, we have the axial view. So this is a cross section of the shape, and it shows you the shape at that slice. And as you see, I can click and drag this bangle on the shape, and it's updating these measurements in the lower right. So I can see at any level what's the circumference, the ML, AP, and a position away from a reference level. At the very bottom, we have some easy views, so we can click front, back, left, right for an easy way to get to those angles of the shape. And as well, some other ways we can break up the screen with different orientations and different window configurations, so we can see, you know, if sometimes you're modifying, you want to see kind of the before and after in really plain 3D view, you can use the window configurations, the lower right, to set that. So this is how you can kind of navigate in the software. You have different toolbars depending on what you're doing. A lot of the time you're going to be kind of in the modification or the tools toolbar. And here I'll give it, again, an example of a few of the key modifications we'll do. So the most basic one here is a region modification. So this is where we're going to be doing a buildup or a pressure. So really easy way just to click and click several points on the shape to define that contour, and then click an apex point. Generally, it's on a bony prominence or an area where you want to create, an area of pressure. And with this, we just click a few buttons to set the height of this buildup we need. You can see here on the right, you can see what that looks like. The nice thing with this is you can not only set it here, you can also click and drag to set a height for that region where it looks good. So you can see it's easy to draw any kind of custom buildup anytime you need. But what is really powerful about the software is that once you are happy with the kind of designs you're doing and you like how it fits on the patient, you can standardize those. So not only just for this one individual buildup, but you can standardize a whole set of modifications for your patient. So if I right click here, I can remove this modification, and I'll show you what that same kind of modification can look like as an overlay. So an overlay in CanFit is a standard set of buildups. I'm going to look in my list here for the correct buildups I'm looking for. Combo reliefs. That's the one I want. So I just click that button, and I have not only a buildup here for the lateral malleolus, but also for the base of the fifth. And if I turn the shape around, also applied medial malleolus and navicular. So all of these buildups and modifications are applied all at once with just a couple of clicks, and they're a standard shape. They're also a standard height. And what's more, the landmarks that I've selected during the scanning process, these buildups go right into that exact spot. So I shouldn't need to play around with these very much. Now, there are times when a patient needs a bit of a custom job on some of these buildups, and it's really easy just to take this, any of these region buildups, and resize it or move it on the shape. So I can click and drag and move this on the shape, or stretch it out if I need it elongated for any reason, just by clicking on the edge of that green square on the shape. So this is how you can standardize a lot of the buildups, is by creating overlays out of these modifications. For AFOs, one of the very handy tools we have for this is the flare tool. So this allows you to select a level within the shape, and within these boundaries, create a projection from the widest point and project it forward. So here you can see a little bit easier what's happening in the axial view here on the right. You can see here the modification is following the widest point on the shape and projecting straight forward. You can adjust the angle on this. So sometimes you don't want it to be projecting straight out, but you may want to come at an angle. So you have the ability here to adjust what that angle looks like. Another nice feature is that if you don't want to project all the way to that anterior surface level, we can bring back this extension, and you see we can get some of that projection straightforward, but then it stops and it leaves you with the original anatomical definition at the anterior side of the foot, or the dorsum of the foot. So with this one tool, we can replace many minutes in a plaster shop getting this kind of feature done. It's also something that can be easily standardized across practitioners. A few other powerful tools that we have when we're talking about orthotics is just realigning of the shape and adjusting angles from how we may have scanned or positioned the patient during the scan. So bend is really easy to use just to correct some of that plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. So with this bend tool, I create the bend point and a boundary, and then I can simply click and drag until I get that shape in the alignment that I need. I can see here in my two-dimensional view where I started and when I finished. If I want a specific bend, I can apply it here, but I think closer to where we started is probably fine. So these are the kind of modifications that are very easy to do in CanFit, not only bending, but also rotating. So for example, if we need to de-rotate the heel at all to get it in that subtalar neutral position, we can just use the rotate function. And with the rotate, we select the apex of that rotation and then two boundaries. And then as you see here, it's very easy to click in the axial view and drag. And you'll see when it looks right, when that subtalar joint lines up nicely with the angle of the leg and the position of the foot. Another standard modification for AFOs is the toe box. So I'm going to use this example to highlight maybe one of the best features in CanFit, and that's what we call macros. And macros are a saved set of modifications that everybody in your organization can use. And in this case, we're going to use it to create a toe box. So here I just load one from my saved list of macros. I come into this window here, and I can see a preview of all the steps we're going to have in this macro. Another nice feature of the macros is that you can build instructions to yourself or to your colleagues that might be using the macro. So here, the first step, instruction is to lengthen the toe box area. So rather than adding a bunch of plaster as we would in the, in a plaster workshop here, just to add out the length of the toes to fill in the shoe area, we're just going to lengthen the data that exists from the scan. So I click play, and you can see here it's going to lengthen the shape out. It's going to be more than we need, and we're going to cut off the toe detail just to have a nice square toe box area. Now the macro is already preset with a determined length of extension, and it's also located on a landmark that I've specified. So there doesn't have to be too much guesswork. The other nice thing is as you're modifying through your macro, even the view will update to show you what's the most important view to be looking at to decide if you have a good modification. While the macros are great to have consistency across practitioners, there are still situations where patients will need a little bit of a custom adjustment. So we don't necessarily recommend that you just go ahead and blast all the modifications onto the shape without a little bit of review at each step. It's important to use your clinical knowledge to know how much is good, but the nice thing here is we're not forgetting steps, and we have most of the guesswork is taken out. So here it's preset at a certain length, and if I'm happy with that, I can just click play here to go on to the next step. And at the top left, I have AFO toe box number 2, cut the distal end to remove the toe detail. So again, the second step is going to guide me through that next step. And I can see here how much I want to cut off from the 3D shape, and I can click and drag to cut off a little bit more or less. And I can also see in my 2-dimensional view how much I'm cutting off relative to the original toe of the scan. To ensure I'm getting a nice kind of squared off edge on the plantar side of the toe box, we extend out this data in this next step. And then here, finally, we can basically flatten the whole bottom of the AFO to have a nice, consistent flat surface. There are some additional steps that we can take, but at this point I'm satisfied with that toe box, so I'm going to click stop to end that playback, and I can move on to any other specific modifications I need to do. For macros, you can have them set up to do as little or as much of a modification process as necessary. It's often good to have a standard set of basic modifications, for example, smoothing up a scan, doing some basic alignments and some general build-ups, the kind of things you'll apply to all of your patients for a certain kind of AFO. And then you can have additional macros for some of those finishing features that sort of make the different types of devices unique. So for a KFO, for example, a lot of the AFO portion might be similar for a lot of the AFOs you're doing, but the KFO, you're going to need some specific things around the knee, or maybe specific differences for the trim line. So you might have a general AFO macro, and then for a KFO, there might be a second macro you use just to do some of those adjustments around the knee area or the thigh area. One other thing that, of course, we like to do, and it's really easy with CanFit, is to apply a trim line. So whether you're carving a positive model for this shape or whether you're going to be 3D printing, a trim line can be used to define the trim edge and also give a nice flare to show the technicians where to cut the plastic and where the 3D print shape should end. So we can draw a custom trim line every time, but of course, that's a bit time consuming. So we like to save these into overlays. So here's another one that we have. I'm going to find a trim line that I like, check the box and apply it to my shape. And you can see this is the trim line that's extending around the shape. It's a fairly standard trim line. Once it's on the shape, again, you can adjust it as much as you need to. So we can, just like we did with the regions, we can resize and move, lengthening the distal end or the proximal end to see how high we might want it. Anytime you want to do a measurement, we have measurement tools. So if you're considering how high you want that trim line to be on your AFO, that's something you may have measured on the patient when during their visit. So you can draw a measure right in the shape, and let's say we said 380 was the height that the brace needed to go up from the floor. So we check the box here for the Z, which is the vertical component of this measurement that I've just created. And that measurement will stay on the shape. So now I can use that endpoint of the measurement that I know is 380 because I just drew it to be a target for me, so that when I drag this trim line up, you can see, you can know and have certainty that it's at that correct height. So what we don't see in this view is the flare of the trim line. To see the flare, we go into View and Preview Device. And here we can see what that flare edge looks like. So in this specific case, we have a small amount of flare around the midfoot and ankle of the shape. and at the proximal edge, that flare is a little bit larger. If we go down to the forefoot, there's actually no flare, so it's very flat around the forefoot because we don't need it to flare out. That toe box is already going to be a bit wider than we need for the patient's toes. So from that, again, if I was going to be carving this shape, that might be all I need to do. But I will show you some of the 3D printing tools we have available. So once you have your positive model designed, it's really the inner surface of your device. If you're going to be 3D printing, then you can then apply some tools to make this 3D printable. The first thing we need when we're 3D printing is to make a thickness. So we have a 3D print tab here, which gives us access to different tools. The first thing I might do is set a uniform thickness, which is like a default thickness all the way around the shape. And maybe 3 or 4 millimeters is appropriate. Let's pick 4 and say OK. When you pick that default thickness, you can see in the axial view, it's making that, that blue shaded area. That's showing you the difference between the inside surface and the outside surface. So if I zoom in on this area here, this shaded area is the thickness of the device I'm going to make. And if I, again, preview my device, I'm now seeing that preview with 4 millimeter thickness applied to that preview. One thing that's really handy with AFOs is to be able to design right into the device specific cutout patterns. So again, we have overlays that will work for that. So I will find in my overlay list, have a pattern of cutouts. And this is simply a series of overlay cutouts, and you can design these to be anywhere you wish. In this case, it's going to be kind of around the back of the ankle. This will give a little bit more flexibility, but also breathability to the device in this area. And now with the preview, you can see what that's going to look like. Now this shape can be exported and sent off to the 3D printer, or without those 3D print edits, we could send them to a carver to be machined out of foam. So now I'm going to skip over into prosthetics. So here's an example of a scan of a transtibial patient. We can apply all those same tools I just used for AFOs for doing buildups and pressures and trim lines. So you'll see that here very quickly. So here I have a combination of buildups and pressures, and I also have a trim line I can provide on the shape. In this case, you can see I have a scan of a patient with a bunch of markings drawn where I want to have my MPT and the landmarks and the patella defined. And I also may want to make some adjustments when I put that overlay on the shape. Here I may want to adjust the trim line as that came in based on how the image or lines were drawn for the patella for this patient. So you can use that manually drawn indication during your patient visit before the scan to really guide you through the modification process. But you have the same access to all the same tools that we had for AFOs. That's one nice thing about CanFit is once you learn the tools for one device, you can apply them to all the other devices that you produce. Once you use that texture image to help kind of dictate the modifications you're doing, I often like to turn off that texture image. So we can just go to the View tab and turn that off. And then it's a little bit easier to see kind of what that positive model is going to be looking like. a unique feature of 3D printing that we have here, we start with the same adjustment, setting a standard thickness. You may want to have an area with more thickness. So once we set our default thickness, we go back into uniform and we can create an area of more or less thickness with these constraint planes. So I can set a zone below this plane, increase the thickness, let's say to 6, and then I have an area of 6 millimeter thickness distally and tapering up to 3 millimeters proximally. We also have the ability to design thickness regions. So this is just like a region buildup that I showed earlier, except here we use it to design the thickness in a certain area. So if you want an area of thinner material, we design a boundary like this, and then we specify the height of these points. And then we can see how this tapers down. So in that top area, you can see that it will only allow a 0 millimeter thickness because we only started with 3 millimeters thick, so we can't go less than that. And where we had 6 millimeter thickness distally, by reducing 3, we're now resulting in 3 millimeter thickness. And you can see how that looks as you click through the various control points. Another nice feature with CanFit and our 3D printing capabilities is the use of components. So this is what the term we use for adding additional features or fixtures to your patient shape. So to the socket in this case, we may want to have a distal adapter. So we have a selection to choose from for this shape type. Here you have a cylinder that you'd be able to just screw in from the bottom. We have other shapes and other types of attachment pieces. So here's one. If I zoom in, you can see the ability to use like slotted nuts to go in there to screw in from the bottom. So you have a variety of options to use for your device. Once you're happy with the device or component selection, you can then position it as you need to. So if you need to angle the position more medial or lateral, you can do that here, or also adjust the angle. Once you're happy with the angle, we can preview what that's going to look like. And it will render that full 3D shape with the component added. And in this case, it's the distal adapter. While looking internally in the socket, you can see it's still that nice smooth distal end that we had from the scan of the patient. So you have that nice intimate fit throughout the socket here for your patient, but it's also integrating with whatever componentry you have outside the device. I'll touch on a couple other features here. So with your socket design you've done now, you may be required at some point down the road to make a new socket and justify that another socket is necessary. So what I did want to show here is if I pull up an old scan of a patient, for example, this scan here, you can overlay those two scans. So I basically just copy from this one and paste onto this one, and you can see those two scans are now overlaid. And we can align those two shapes appropriately. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a report on the measurement differences between the two shapes. So I have a macro that I can use to apply several measurements to my patient. So I have several circumference tape measurements throughout the shape, which is, as you can see, very quick to drop on. And if I look at my measurement tab here, which I showed you earlier, we have all of those tapes listed out, and at each level, you can see the difference in the size from one to the next. And this is great, but if you need to share this information with people outside your organization, especially a third-party payer, then it's nice to be able to just fire up a report for this. So we're going to go into Tools toolbar and Report, and we're going to do a measurement report. And the initial 3D compare shape is the red shape outlined here. That will be the one comparing to the one in blue. And here we can preview the measurement report. So from this, it's a PDF file. You can see the measurements before and after. You can insert your own logo into the CanFit software. So whatever you're sending out is going to be branded with your corporate logo. And any patient information you want to include or not include, you can include here. From this, you can, of course, email this as an attachment to a third-party payer or print it out for a paper record. So the other thing that I thought would be interesting to show folks here is just the ability to work with digital photographs or images, because of course, as you saw, we can import a texture image with the scan from Spectra or Luma, but you don't always have that. So in some situations, you want to have a digital photo, or you want to use a digital X-ray to align with the shape and also to help guide your modification. So here I have a spinal shape I've already scanned. We've even landmarked the vertebrae, and we want to apply the X-ray image we have here on the left. We want to apply that to our 3D scan model. So over here, I'm going to go into Tools and Texture. And I'm going to select which of my two images, either the digital photo of the patient or of the X-ray, I want to turn into a texture. So here I'm going to select the X-ray and check this box to accept and click OK. And it will take that X-ray image and it will paste it and basically project it onto the shape and effectively tattoo it there so that you have that as you move the shape around and also as you modify the shape. So now if I can see where that spinal, where that spine is in my patient here, has scoliosis, obviously, we can use this to guide modification. So for example, if we want to do any bending or translation or shifting of the spine, we can use that as a reference. So here I can use translate, select my areas for the modification, and that purple line in the middle is the apex. And then I select the direction. So I want to select in the axial view going left to right. And then I just pull this as far as I think I need to be clinically appropriate. You not only have the ability to adjust the apex of that modification, you can also in this window here adjust the curvature. So the blending between the apex and the boundaries of the modification. So this might give you an idea of how much to modify so you get the appropriate impact of the modification on the shape. For all the shapes we've designed here today, once you're happy with your final design, then we output it to whatever machine we're carving. So for a 3-axis carver or robot, we have output options here. We're sending it out to a 3D printer or to an STL file. Those are available in this window as well. Here we'll recap some of the highlights of the CanFit design solution. With CanFit, you can do more in less time. This is through the use of overlays, trim lines, and the macros as we saw. It's accurate and repeatable across staff. When you have all your practitioners using the same macros and overlays, you can be sure you're going to have repeatable and accurate results and consistency for your patients. The software includes the ability to do reporting. So this can be something that you can share on progress with the patient or as a report for justification for third-party payers. We make the regulatory part easy. So this means you don't have to worry about patient privacy. We can make sure and work with you to make sure that you are achieving your goals around HIPAA compliance. And as you saw, all of the modification tools, including the 3D printing design tools, are all in that single solution. So you don't have to skip back and forth between different software programs to achieve your 3D printing designs. Now we're getting to the last step of the CAD/CAM process, the carver. I highlight two of the solutions here today, but we also have other carvers available, for example, for direct milling of photorthotics. Here is Vorum's 3-axis carver. This machine is a workhorse. It's easy to use and fast to carve. It has the largest carvable volume in the industry, so you should almost never get into a situation where your tech says the patient shape is too big to fit. It's very dependable and can handle any type of shape from head to foot. To save time, you can carve multiple shapes in one block. You can also reuse blocks, carving smaller shapes within previously carved jobs, bringing your block costs way down. Next is Vorum's robot carver. We have integrated the strongest robot arm in the industry to ensure we can carve fast and with optimal surface finish, so you can spend less time touching up the shapes before fabricating the device. Our CAM software has been designed with O&P technicians in mind, so you don't need to hire an engineer. The carved toolpath files are generated in only a few clicks, and users can fully simulate the carving before sending it to the machine, so they know exactly what they're going to get out of the machine. Because of the 7 axes working in concert, the tool can reach those areas the 3-axis carver can't. So it's ideal for carving complex AFOs and KAFOs. It can also carve custom wheelchair seats and insoles. Here again is an overview of those two options. Again, both carvers are very fast. Both can carve all of your standard O&P designs, prosthetics, AFOs, KFOs, knee braces, spinals. Where the robot carver excels is in carving complex AFOs and KFOs with almost no manual process needed once the shape comes off the machine. The robot carver can also carve seats and direct mill of orthotic insoles if that's something that you're interested in. 3D printing is the alternative to traditional CAD/CAM and O&P. A lot of advancements in this industry have been made possible with new printer technology as well as new materials. Vorum is excited to be working on a solution for 3D printing with Ascentium. The O&P edition of their HSE printer is brought to you exclusively by Vorum. We are currently working through patient trials with industry partners to ensure we have the best possible strategies nailed down. This process was certainly slowed down by the COVID-19 pandemic. But once we've completed those tests and have confirmed the optimal printing strategies, we will let our customers know how they can get started with this exciting technology. And thank you. That's an overview of our solution. Thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing some of you in our virtual booth. Now I'll pass it back to Chris Gurman.
Thank you, Chris, for a wonderful product overview. The deeper understanding of the power that our products have helps to better understand what's behind the success stories that Brian was talking about. I mean, when you can find ways to automate your workflows and you have a scanning technology that has an accuracy rating of 0.1 millimeter, it's conceivable to think that you would see tremendous results when you're making the switch from plaster to CAD/CAM. And not only that, you're just going to improve the patient experience and their outcomes. I mean, if you're providing them with a better fitting device in less time, that's just going to increase the overall satisfaction that that patient has when receiving your care. If you're thinking about making the switch from plaster to CAD/CAM, finding the right partner is critical. Vorum's been around for 31 years. We're a very established company and we've managed over 800 installations. We've seen competitors pop up and drop off over that time. And one thing's for sure, Vorum is here to stay. And going back to SurePath, when there's a program in place to ensure customer success when they're making that transition, that's just going to alleviate any uncertainty when you're going through it. Bob had some great information around our remote training and remote deliveries. So any new customer thinking about making the switch, we're ready to go. And for any current customers, I mean, if you saw some of the time estimates for modifications, anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes, if some of the mods are taking you 25, 30, 35, 40 minutes, reach out to us. Maybe there's a training program that we can put in place. Maybe, you know, we can help design some macros, some custom library shapes. We have all the resources here to help you. Just let us know what we can do. So in the end, Vorum has an end-to-end solution available so that you have that single source of support for all of your scanning, designing, and fabrication processes. And we have that SurePath plan in place to ensure your success. That about wraps it up for us. We'll stick around for a little while longer, so please, if you do have any questions, post them in the chat box or any comments, shoot them our way. If you'd like to connect with us directly afterwards, reach out to info@vorum.com. And lastly, from us at Vorum, we wish you all health and safety while we navigate through this pandemic. Thank you very much.